The format for questions will begin with a question for all the candidates. We'll give them 90 seconds to answer each question, okay? So the first question that we're going to have is going to be for all the candidates. Then we'll go alphabetically. Bouchard, Cox, George, Hoekstra, when Mike Cox gets here. Also, one other note, David Niffen was up here earlier. DavidNiffen.com, right? Sit down, sit down. You're not coming up. Right? DavidNiffen.com? Vote Niffen. Vote KNIFFEN.com. Check it out. Good stuff on there. So learn all about David. 31 years old, an entrepreneur himself, and learn more about him. All right, now we have Ken and Dave out there with the microphones. Hold your hands up. There's Ken. There's David. Okay. We're going to start over on this side of the room with the first question. Go with the close one right there, this gentleman with the glasses. This is for all the candidates now, right?
Yes.
All right.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for your service to our state. I appreciate it. My question to all the candidates tonight is, if...
Please put it in your pocket.
What do you want me to do? Somebody got to shut his mic off?
No.
All right. My question is, Michigan has a great hunting heritage, Second Amendment heritage in this state, and we have a person named Hillary Clinton working with the UN right now on a small arms treaty to abolish small arms throughout the world. I personally will never be disarmed. I might be when I'm dead, but I won't be while I'm alive. My question to you candidates is, Governor, if, for God forbid, she ever got this treaty passed and approved by the Congress of the United States, what would you do to stop it in violation of our 10th Amendment?
Second Amendment would be the one. We'll start with Mike Bouchard. 90 seconds.
Well, she won't get mine either.
Sheriff, hold on just a second. Who has the drum? Can I kindly ask you not to play it, please? I really admire your zeal and I thank you for it, but it's going to be unfair to all the candidates if you only do it for some guys and not the other. You know, so I want to be fair to everybody. I really appreciate it and admire it, and you play it very well. Thank you. And I would keep you alive in an American Idol too. All right, go ahead, Sheriff.
Thank you. Reset the clock. I appreciate the question. That heritage is not only critically important to Michigan because we've got a history of sportsmen and women. I am an avid sportsman, probably, I'm guessing, but probably the most avid of all the folks running. I bow hunt, muzzle, shotgun, rifle, and handgun. And all of my kids, from the time they were old enough to carry a weapon, have been taught. I was a law enforcement official. I taught them. I was a hand-to-hand and weapons instructor. My daughter, she hunts. Both my sons hunt. They will not come into this state if I'm governor and take our weapons, period. I don't care who's coming. They're not going to get it. And secondly, I've had a little bit of experience on it. I was one of the first teams on the ground near Katrina. I was the president of Major County Sheriffs of America, and the sheriff in New Orleans called and said, we need help. And they're standing in the way, they're not helping us, can you come help? And the system requires you to go to the state to get authorization to deploy. So I kept calling Lansing and the governor, and they wouldn't give it, and they wouldn't give it. And so finally we left. My point is, when we got there, there were some sectors where they were disarming residents. And my sector, with the other 3 sheriffs from Georgia and Florida, refused to do that and said, we're not only protecting the residents, we're protecting their rights to protect themselves.
Sure. Dr. George.
Yeah, thank you. You should know that I have a 10-year voting record of protecting gun rights in Michigan. We don't need any new gun laws. We just need to enforce the ones we have. You should also know that gun ownership is protected in the Michigan Constitution, like it is in the federal Constitution. So if the scenario that you outline unfolds, it sets up a conflict between the state and the federal Constitution, which ultimately would have to be decided by the courts. You should also know that it's the same kind of conflict that we potentially face if we adopt the measure that's being circulated to put in our Constitution protection against government mandating unwanted health insurance on us. It's a very similar argument. In either case, I defend your right, and we need to defend our Constitution, and it would set up a face-off with this proposal that you've mentioned. Thank you.
Great question. We're working on exactly the same problem on a different issue. The U.S. Constitution, by protecting the right to bear arms, takes precedent over anything that comes out of the UN. Hillary Clinton can try whatever she wants in the UN to deal with the right to bear arms, but she cannot, through the UN, change the U.S. Constitution. She loses. Okay? Now, how do I know? I've introduced an amendment that says, it's a parental rights amendment. It says parents have the right to raise their kids and educate their kids. And people say, Pete, why are you worried about that? Go, and when you're looking at treaties that America's looking at and that Hillary's looking at, she's looking at one called the UN Treaty on the Child. And in that one, it turns it on its head, and it says children have rights that need to be protected vis-a-vis their parents. That's why I'm proposing, and I have 130 co-sponsors, for a constitutional amendment that says it's the parents' rights to raise their kids. We need to get it in the Constitution, because otherwise, if a UN treaty passes, is confirmed and ratified through the U.S. Senate, it has precedence. Kids have rights. You are now second-class parents. This is what you have to watch for. We're okay on guns.
Time's up, Congressman.
Yep.
Thank you.
Are you sure?
All right, next up, a question for Sheriff Michael Bouchard. Where's Dave? In the back? You're going to come up this way, Dave.
Where do you want me to go?
The gentleman right there in the white shirt in front of you. Stop. Right to your left. There you go.
Actually, this is a question for all three of them.
No. This is a question for Sheriff Bouchard. Take the microphone. I'm running the talk show.
Okay,
it's
fine.
The Frank Beckmann show.
Fine.
You'll stand by, sir. We'll get back with you for a question for everybody. We need a question for Sheriff Bouchard. This gentleman's got one right there.
David, thank you. Besides the elimination of the MBT, what would you do as governor to lure businesses back to Michigan while keeping it fair for those who chose to stick it out here and stay here?
Thank you. Thank you for your shirt. Thank you for what you do. A lot of things. In fact, I was one of only 4 when I was in the Senate in March of 1995 to vote against then Governor Engler when he started a program called MEGA, which morphed into the MEDC, which picks winners and losers in the marketplace and says, we want to give a big company to come here, everything, including the gravy, and everybody in this room is going to pay for it. I voted against that. I think we need a low tax rate for everybody. Everybody gets the gravy. I'll pick you over Clint Eastwood any day. And a lot of the things we're going to do to get that cost of government down are pretty clear. They're on my website, but I was just sitting there jotting down a few of them. Right now, it's a simple majority to raise taxes in the Senate and the House, and a super majority to reject spending. So when they tried to reject the pay increase for the government workers, they had a majority. 22 voted for it. Needed 26 out of 38. So my proposal says we're going to flop that in the direction that makes sense. Simple majority to reject spending increases and a super constitutional requirement to increase taxes on you. Part-time legislature. Budget in place by May 15th. Every day after that, the governor and the legislators lose a day's pay. A 2-year budget with a 3-year projection that's independently verified. Every check the government writes online so you can see it. It's your money. We're going to reform the tax code, make it simple, low, easy to comply with, profit-based, not activity or payroll. I want you to make money because you're going to hire people. Jobs will come. My kids will get a job. We will have a future. It's jobs, jobs, jobs.
Thank you, Sheriff.